Hello friends, this is Jay Hendricks with Powerful Thought Daily. Today I wanted to talk with you about how to establish a spiritual practice. And this is going to be following a Raja Yoga path, which is the yoga of the mind. It's a yoga that includes and transcends all of the previous yogas before it. Bhakti, mantra, Laya, and Hatha yoga, and then all the yogas that are like those. So, some of the goals to meditation I can list, and then that will help you determine what you want to do on the path and everything. So, there are many ways to meditate depending on what stage you're at and what is most productive for you. So, if you're doing something that is overstimulating you, or causing turmoil in you, that's not going to be the yoga that you want to pursue. You're going to want to pursue one that's challenging you, but also where you're progressing at a good pace. So Raja Yoga isn't for everybody. In fact, most people consciously or unconsciously follow Bhakti Yoga, which is the yoga of the emotions. And that's where a lot of mainstream religions are at this time. It's more devotional, more emotional, and more mystical maybe. It's not as mental, which would be using the intellect, the intuition, and all those things, and the will. So a lot of people unconsciously follow Bhakti Yoga, even in their goals and pursuits in business or anything like that. So a lot of those principles can be tied into what people naturally do. Everyone really does have their own practice. It's just realizing it. Okay, so simple mantra meditation routines like Transcendental Meditation can help prepare you for the more intensive practice of Raja Yoga. And I went through this in a previous video. Mantra yoga can be very in-depth, and you should always be careful with every yoga you practice. You should always try to, experiment with things, try things, and then if it's too much, if it's overstimulating you, you need to pull back or stop the practice. Because if you go too far with these things, it can really mess you up. And we don't want that to happen. So you have to be very careful on the path and really pay attention to what happens and the results that you get. So I would recommend Transcendental Meditation for people as long as they're not doing it more than twice a day, 20 minutes each session. I would not recommend more than that. It could overstimulate you, and some people do overstimulate themselves, and it can be pretty crazy. Another thing that I really push is to follow your own inner guru, your own conscience, your own intuition. Because if you're following somebody, and maybe they're teaching you, and that's fine, but don't get attached to them as your guru, or that this is the only one right way. Always learn from everything in life, whether it's a specific practice or golf or a hobby. Always be learning from things and refining your path according to what interests you. Because that interest is a psychological phenomenon where it's something that draws your attention. And you could say that is your divine self, your highest self, drawing you to something to learn more. So pay attention to what you're interested in. Maybe you're interested in things that you find a little shadowy or a little, of course don't go murdering people. That's not what I'm talking about. But sometimes the things that draw our interest are negative things, and try to analyze why that negative thing, what is it about that that's drawing your interest. Maybe it's something within you that you need to integrate, that you're rejecting from yourself. That would be shadow work. Okay, so here are some of the goals of meditation. Number one, to understand the aspects of the mind by working with it. So it's actually using the mind and using it to, we'll go into this later in later videos, but using it to build thought forms. So when you're actually using the mind, you become familiar with it and you become familiar with the nature of it, and you're able to draw conclusions based on that experience. So the goal of meditation is to use the mind. Number 2, another goal is to learn how to think. This can be learned by studying the first 2 books of the Yoga Sutras. This goes into that a lot. The first 2 books of the Yoga Sutras, there's 4 of them, and they're very short. All 4 of them are very short. But the first 2 goes into detail and very concise, cut and dry. I don't know the word is for that, but it teaches you how to think. And so then number 3 would be to learn to get back of the thought processes and discover divine ideas. By doing this, the meditator collaborates with divinity and unfolds the divinity in him or herself. So you get behind your thought processes and you start contacting these divine ideas and collaborating with that divinity. And then that unfolds the divinity in you. This is done by studying patterns and the blueprints upon which all things are built. It is also studying the world of symbol, metaphor, and the structure of your religion or your belief system or anything that you're doing, how business works, how science works, how human relationships work. It's getting behind the thought processes and discovering the divine plan that's unfolding all around you, even though we're unconscious of it. So we're learning to be conscious of that now and work with it, collaborate with it. So number 4 would be the work of thought form building can then begin as the meditator contacts the subtle realm of the soul. So that would be the final reason why we meditate. One of the final reasons we meditate is to build thought forms, and I'll go into that later. And it's to build thought forms in collaboration with the divinity in you. So it's going to be a key aspect to any service that you render to people. Because if you are aligning yourself to divinity, and divinity is unfolding and nothing can stop it, you're going to work with that, and you're going to know what to do and to serve, and you're going to be in that point of meaning, that point between chaos and order that is meaningful. And when you stay in that path, in that narrow path, then your life becomes magical and meaningful all the time. It's of course a practice and it takes a long time, and I'm definitely not fully there yet, but this is part of a service that I'm rendering, you could say. And as long as it's useful, I'll continue to do it. So we'll see. So to sum up, a solid spiritual practice will include 3 things. It will include study, it will include meditation, and it will include service. Study, meditation, and service. So with the studying, you're following your path. Maybe there's authors that call to you, maybe there's books that call to you, maybe there's a line of thought that calls to you, and you're studying these things and picking them apart and making conclusions, and you're not necessarily just trusting all these things are true. You're going to use these things that you study and actually work with them and practice them in daily life and practice meditation and learn about how the world works. And so study. It's not just studying books, it's studying your environment. You go to work, You can start to see what's behind the curtains. So it can make work a lot more interesting, because now it's not just a job, it's a stage that is portraying to you what is going on behind the scenes. Meditation, of course, there's many different kinds of meditation. I'm going to go into later videos on how I meditate and so some suggestions on that. But you can go and look at the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali, and it's a very great guidebook on how to meditate. And I personally don't meditate more than 30 minutes a day, sometimes less, because if you do more than that, it can overstimulate you, and you can be deluded sometimes. Like a lot of the guys and girls that meditate all day long, I don't know how good that is for them, but you have to follow your own path. My suggestion is don't meditate more than 30 minutes a day. And then your service, so that your service would be your profession, what you do, even your hobbies. It's just being in the right place at the right time and letting that divine energy that's coming out unfold into all of the things that happen to you. Like maybe you go into the store and someone, the woman that's checking you out, or ringing up your stuff, says something, and then you're able to spontaneously give a word of encouragement, or just be silent, or be, you just always are spreading this divinity around you wherever you go, this goodwill. You want to go into a place, and every place you go in just gets better. It's just a little better that you were there. Anyway, that's the video for today. If you have any questions or comments, please comment. Please like, subscribe. I'm Jay Hendricks. This is Powerful Thought Daily. Thanks for watching. Bye.